Now we're going to start looking at electropneumatics and how we can develop on and look at some introductory circuits, and also look at the kind of use of relays and solenoids within electropneumatics. Now it starts off in FluidSim fairly similar, so we still need to develop a pneumatic circuit that we're going to control. So we'll bring in our air service unit and our compressor. We will control a double acting cylinder. We'll keep it pretty basic for the start, and then we need a direction control valve underneath that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, what you're looking for is a solenoid operated. Now we have a double acting cylinder here, so we're going to need a 5-2, and we're going to go double solenoid impulse valve. Okay, and we're just going to straighten this up a wee bit. Connect them together, connect it in to a compressor and bring it down. Okay, now there's a couple of things on this diagram. So we just have a 5-2 valve, and then we have two solenoids that are operating here on the side. You can see with a slanted line. We have a manual override push button on the top. We're told this is an impulse valve, so there's no internal spring back. So if you activate one side, the valve will stay in it's kind of a detent valve, as I would say. It stays in its last known position. Okay, so something to always check. So if I have activated this valve, the cylinder can start extended, and then if I leave the valve and don't, reset it back down, it will still stay in that last position. You can get some with this internal spring that'll revert back to a kind of neutral position or rest position. But this will just, if you activate it on this side, it will stay in the activated position. And if you put it back to rest, then it will stay in the rest position. So that's what we mean by the impulse valve or a detent valve. So that's really all we need actually for the pneumatics to start off with. The link from our pneumatic part and then our electrical diagram, which we're going to put over here, is going to be through the solenoids themselves. Okay, what you'll notice in FluidSim, there's no physical connection in the two diagrams because this is all pneumatic, and then the diagram we're going to have here is over here is going to be all electrical. So there's no actual physical connection, but how we do that is we wire in on the solenoids physically. So I'll show it to you as we go through it. So we come down, we're finished with our pneumatic part. That's all I want to look at, and we come down to our electrical controls here. Okay, so we bring over 24 volts and a 0 volt. Okay, and I just like to pop them like that there. Now how we're going to activate this is we're going to use some switches. Okay, and underneath switches you're going to have manually operated, and these are the likes of the push button or the detent push button. You can have them normally open, normally closed. These are the ones we're going to use. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a start, or we'll say a forward and a reverse push button. And you can put little labels in there, call that forward, and you can call this reverse. If you want to make that a little bit cleaner, you can pull them just out to the side there. So when we're connecting that up, we've got to bring power down to the switch. It's going to wait for the switch to be pressed, and then we're going to go ahead and activate something. And what I want to do is I want to activate our output, which will be our solenoids. Okay, so see them there, valve, solenoid. If you drop that in, so once we push the push button, it'll allow power to go to the solenoid, which will activate the solenoid, and then we need to ground out that loop. So how does this solenoid know that it's being linked to, say, the forward part here? Well, we do it through labels. So you'll see if I click on that little bubble there at the end, I can add a label to this. So I can call this Y1, and you'll see that corresponding component that it links to in the electrical diagram. So that's how we know those two link together. And if I call this one Y1, you'll see it links to the solenoid element in the pneumatic circuit, which is just over here. So once those two are called the exact same thing, they are now linked together. So you'll see there's no actual physical wiring going across here, but obviously when you go to wire this up let me just undo that. you go to wire this up in real terms with the didactic boards, you'll have plumbed all this up pneumatically. Then when it comes to doing it electrically, you'll be going down through your switch and then into your solenoid. You obviously won't have two things here. This is the exact same as this solenoid over there, but it's just from the diagrams you need to have them separated and only connected through the labeling system, because obviously the simulation software then wouldn't be able to work because this is all airlines and these are all electrical wiring. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I do recommend watching some of the electrical pneumatic videos that I have of me actually on the board and wiring up some of this stuff. Same again, we can bring into the bridge back into the 24 volt. We just can have a top line going across there into a reverse push button, normally opened. Bring in another valve solenoid. We can connect this up. Now we're going to call this one Y2. Over here, call this Y2. And that makes them two linked. If we want to simulate, we can press play. You can see if I press the start button or the forward button, it goes forward. If I release it, see the way the valve has stayed in that rest position, hasn't sprung back or anything like that. So in order for me to get it back, I have to click the reverse button and it goes back. Nice and easy. So a very basic electropneumatic circuit, showing you just kind of how we put them together using two separate diagrams, how they link together through some of the labels, and that gets us started. In the next video we're going to look at some relays, how we use them, and how we can do some latching with them as well.